I'm saying your current leadership, folks.
Jim, first and foremost, of course, our hearts break for the children, the family, the loved ones, the friends of the individual who was murdered, the woman, the mother. Jim, a criminal is responsible for the criminal act.
Couldn't even get the girl's name right, which, by the way, we shouldn't be surprised, especially given that the leader of the free world, I mean, I'm pretty sure we all remember this little gem.
I'd be a winner. Not really. Lincoln Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal. That's right. But how?
This story to me shows me that it's not just incompetence, it's also laziness, and exactly where we're going at as a nation, especially given the current Department of Homeland Security. And of course, you guys obviously saw Mayorkas at the very beginning, who quite frankly could not even remember the girl's name. Now, a lot of people are looking at this and they're automatically thinking to themselves that this situation, Rachel Morin, looks a lot like Lincoln Riley. And I'm here to tell you guys right now, the similarities aren't, how do I say, there's not that many differences when you think about it, except for maybe the fact that Mrs. Morin was a mother of 5, where Lincoln Riley was obviously a young college student. Still, at the same time, it's obviously a pretty sad situation. And of course, we've also got this a little bit from Fox News, where the mayor of, the governor of Maryland, Wes Moore, decided he did not want to actually, how do I say, criticize the current regime about this matter, and of course to go on top of this, basically went out of his way to also play politics too. We'll get to that here in a second, but obviously when he went on Fox News, he appeared to be a little bit better, let's just say a little bit better prepared instead of what he had said on ABC, but we'll talk about that here in a second. So what happened in this case? So a mother of 5 goes on a trail, walking, and an illegal who we're finding out now had been in the system in other places, including the state of Oklahoma, Texas, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Basically a situation a lot like what happened in the case of Lincoln Riley. And of course, this woman is dead. Let's get to that story.
It's live outside Baltimore with some exclusive new details in that Rachel Morin case. You know, Laura, we know police now have a suspect in custody. You are there live along the trail, and you also have exclusive reaction from Rachel's family.
We do. Hi, Nicole. I am actually standing right at the entrance of the Ma and Pa Heritage Trail. This is a very popular hiking and running trail in this area in the Bel Air sector outside of Baltimore. And this is the trail that Rachel Morin took on August 5th on late Friday night. 23-year-old Victor Martinez Hernandez, who came across the border illegally, according to...
Now, really quick, before we really get into this, I want to go ahead and say this. This crime actually occurred back in 2023. It happened a little over a year ago, all right, or close to a year ago, depending on the actual date, time frame you might want to use. I mean, for your own personal, because as you guys know, somebody may say something like it happened a couple of months ago, and of course, it turns out it was really like 6 months ago. I mean, it's just whatever you think may be the case, but I do want to be about as concise as I can be when I say, or at least as precise as I can be when I say that it occurred close to a year ago, or a little over a year ago. I apologize, but still at the same time, though, they just now got the person, got him in custody. This happened a couple of days ago. And of course, now looking through the background, looking through DNA and stuff, they've actually identified the person. Now, what you guys are about to see is that you guys are about to see a litany of things that this guy had been wanted for in his native El Salvador. But of course, when we get a little bit later on in the video, you will find out that he was also wanted for things here in the United States, meaning that this illegal had been evading the system for a very long time. And of course, we're also waiting on additional information that just may suggest that maybe he was already deported and maybe he was already told to go. But it also goes to that issue of if an illegal commits a crime here in the United States, do we try them here or do we deport them? We'll be talking about that a little bit later on in this video, but I figured I would go ahead and kind of give you guys a bit of a heads up before we really and truly get deep into this, but let's keep going.
Investigators has been charged. He was found in Tulsa, Oklahoma, as we've been reporting. And now the battle has been on of who gets him first, because he is accused of a murder in El Salvador in early of last year. He is accused of a home invasion and attacking a 9-year-old little girl and her mother in Los Angeles at the beginning of last year. Then there's this big gap of time where we don't know where he was or what he was doing until August of last year, where he's now accused in the brutal rape and murder of Rachel Morin here along this hiking trail. We have just learned from local authorities, Nicole, that he has waived his extradition. He was arrested in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Everybody's been wondering who he's going to go to first, and we've just learned that he's waived that extradition. That means that within the next 10, possibly more days, he could be coming here and he will be facing charges in the state. And that is exactly where people want him here that are connected to this case. That is exactly where the loved ones of Rachel Morin want him to be held accountable first before he is held on anything else.
Okay. I'm putting all this stuff up for you guys to see, and I'm not going to read it all verbatim, but here's what I'm going to say. He's got a charge. Of course, he's wanted for murder in El Salvador, his native El Salvador. Number two, he entered the country illegally, according to this chart here, I think back in the spring, late winter. Number three, he also has an assault charge where he's wanted for assault in L.A. He's also at the exact same time, and you will find out a little bit later on in this video, he's connected to something that happened in the state of Oklahoma, and of course, obviously, this incident here, which of course, a murder, and of course, you guys obviously heard that other word, that other thing that, quite frankly, I'm not allowed to use the actual real term for because the YouTube algorithm will identify it, but let's just go ahead and call it grape, so that way you guys can kind of see where it is that I'm going. The point is this right here. This guy should have been gotten rid of a long time ago. What I mean is by deportation, should not have been allowed to be in this nation. I can't actually say the way I want to say it right now at this moment in time because of the algorithm and the content ID system. The channel was recently gotten friendly with the algorithm. Again, I have no idea what the hell's going on, but still, at the same time, for the time being, obviously, I got to keep my language as concise, and I just got to say this right here. Community guidelines right now are one hell of a bitch right now. I'm just simply saying that. The point is this right here. This guy has obviously waived his right to extradition, meaning that he is going to be staying in the state of Maryland. That is where he prefers to stay. Why in the world would he want to stay in the state of Maryland? Probably because he knows the state of Maryland will probably be a little bit more lenient on him. But then again, it also comes down to what the family wants to, which we will get to here shortly. But let's keep going.
All right. So we've also learned from local authorities that once the extradition is taken care of, the suspect will be brought back here and he will be held at a detention facility that's actually very close to this running trail. And I asked some details about how he was going to be held and where. He will be held in this facility that holds about 300 other inmates, and it is a minimum and maximum security facility. And then we'll get on to the court dates. But as you mentioned, and as we've been talking about, the immigration status is so important. And we've learned from our border correspondent, Allie Bradley, that there are multiple offenses of him crossing over our border multiple times. It does appear as though he came through in the El Paso sector to those charges. Earlier today, I have been speaking with the father of Rachel Morin's oldest daughter. His name is Matt McMahon. Here's what he told me about the suspect.
He's just a horrible person that needs to never set foot into a free world again. He needs to be behind bars his whole life, and I want him to live a very long life and hate every single second of that long life.
There's a different way of taking care of this guy, which I think is the best way of taking care of this guy, but I'll tell you guys a little bit later on. I understand that the father may want this guy, or the father or the friend may want this particular individual to rot in a prison cell instead of for the rest of his life. I hate to tell you this. When they go inside the prison cell, they have the opportunity to meet up with other people, and due to the state of Maryland's, let's just say sentencing, because it is a very, very liberal state, it's very possible that this guy could, in fact, get out again. This is one of the main reasons why it is that I am in favor of the death penalty, because quite frankly, you never know. I understand wanting somebody to spend the rest of their life suffering in some form of solitary, but I hate to tell you this, these types of people right here don't suffer. These people actually thrive inside the environment because, quite frankly, this is the environment they want to be in, so that way they can learn to be better criminals and then get out at a later date and then be better criminals out on the street and cause more problems. I understand why you feel the way you do, but in this case right here, I would be a little bit pissed off that he actually waived his right to extradition. But if anything, I'd be more pissed off with the fact that the state of Maryland does not want to actually, how do I say, punish literal criminals. But we will talk a little bit more about that here shortly. Let's continue.
Reporting on that as we move along with these rapidly moving developments in this case, but a relief to the family members and loved ones of Rachel Morin that somebody has been caught. But of course, the question of why and how, why did this happen, and how long when he was on the loose, did he do anything else? Are there other victims out there? DNA, a very critical part of this investigation, and a hat tip to everyone involved, because we know that there was a lot of legwork that went into this. A lot of multi-agencies worked together to bring the suspect into custody in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So now we wait. Nicole.
Yeah. Well, Laura, speaking of that DNA, I mean, how were police able to
let that there run a little bit longer? So obviously law enforcement did its job. However, the problem is this right here. Once again, you have very, very, very liberal judges, very, very liberal justices on that Supreme Court, judges throughout that entire state, especially in Baltimore. But still at the same time, though, it goes back to the issue of how it is our immigration system is completely, totally broken. But more importantly, it's our Department of Homeland Security that's even more broken, or our FBI that's more broken. The people who actually enforce the laws in the books, people are supposed to lock these people up. Pretty daggone broken, pretty daggone messed up if you ask me, but let's
wanted
continue.
in California to this killing in Maryland and then make an arrest in Oklahoma.
So interesting, right? Because when you're talking about this suspect, we're talking about somebody who doesn't have, a driver's license, a passport, a birth certificate here, no fingerprints. There was no record of this guy. So what we have learned is it was a tip that was called in that led investigators to a location where the suspect was believed to have been recently. They found some belongings of his. They checked it for DNA, and then that's when things matched up, because there's only two types of DNA that's really held when it comes to CODIS and that law enforcement system. It's people who have committed offenses, and then that there's
multiple charges in multiple areas, multiple suspicions in multiple areas, crossed the border multiple times, went back. I mean, seriously, we do need a border wall that needs to be double reinforced, but also at the same time, though, we need to actually punish literal criminals too, because that right there is the biggest reason why these incidents are happening, is because we don't actually punish these criminals. But then again, at the same time, though, they are also the current regime's new voters too. So maybe that there's a reason why these people obviously took advantage of the weakness and the kindness or whatever. And obviously these people are doing exactly this. But then again, at the same time, though, it is also an agenda, as I've said in previous videos. Before I tell you what should happen and how I would actually do this and what type of punishment needs to be thrown on someone like this, let's actually listen to the governor of the state of Maryland. Let's just listen to him real quick.
Harford County in our state, where this brutal murder happened, is 1,800 miles away from the border. And so when people think this is only impacting a few states, this is impacting every single one of us. This inaction that we continue to see to get any form of sensible immigration policy done is impacting all of us, because all of us in local jurisdictions deal with the consequences of this.
So, Governor, I saw you on Sunday, and you said, well, if the Republicans only didn't get in the way of that bipartisan legislation, things like this wouldn't happen. But when you see Victor Hernandez, he was stopped in El Paso, rejected. He was stopped in New Mexico twice, rejected. The third time he came through as a getaway, he got through. So these criminals were able to get through. We got 7.4 million. Even if that legislation had passed as is, 4,000 are let through annually. It wouldn't have even kicked into 270 days. So
I'm pretty sure you guys are picking up on the fact that politics is about to be played, or politics is in fact being played, because obviously it's an election year and these people want to use the Senator James Lankford bill, which we'll talk about at the very end of this video, especially when we get to the actual final analysis on this and what should happen. But obviously that particular immigration bill wasn't going to do anything, and as Kilme was about to say, it wouldn't be kicking in for a while. It actually wouldn't kick in until after the election would be over with, which, by the way, means that they could have scrapped it if they wanted to. It was a very, very weak bill, but I'll go over it one more time here in a second. I really love how these people will sit here and say, well, now the issue is affecting me 800 miles away from the border, but these people, quite frankly, did not give a crap about border states to begin with. They didn't care about Texas. They didn't care about New Mexico. They didn't care about Southern California or Arizona. They didn't care about those places at all. So spare us with the political nonsense, but let's keep going.
It is 4,000 are let through annually. It wouldn't have even kicked into 270 days. So would you say the legislation not passing or passing is a bit of a reach, doesn't even apply here?
No, and I don't think this is partisan either. I don't put the blame on a singular political party, because the truth is that many of the anchors of the bill were Republicans. I mean, Senator Langford was one of the authors and was one of the champions
saying nothing
of this
to do
bill.
with this.
So this was. Well, no, but my point is, we're not talking about a singular bill. We're talking about something that has been broken for a very long time. This is not just about.
Here. This guy was obviously a scumbag, and I think it takes a real scumbag of a person to come outside and, how do I say, get in front of a camera and then try to spin this into an election issue and say stuff like, well, the other side, they could have taken care of this, when it's pretty daggone obvious that even a blind man could see that the bill that was being proposed was a god-awful, terrible bill that would have just allowed illegal immigration to keep going. Also, not to mention the fact that the current regime continues to sign more and more and more executive orders, which, by the way, are unlawful and will probably get shot down by the Supreme Court, to try to grant amnesty to these people without actually or properly vetting these people. It's a wonder why it is you see posts on Facebook like this.
Go back to Mexico! Go back to Mexico, fool! What's going on, man? You like it so bad? Go back! Why are you here?
And as I have said on several occasions in previous videos, it is a wonder, and liberals, of course, are wondering why it is that Hispanics themselves want these illegal migrants out. Well, multiple reasons. I've already explained how it is that these people are actually hopping the line and the rationale behind that, but I forgot to say this right here too. A lot of Hispanics are also looking at this situation and they're saying that these people, these scumbags, are giving us extremely bad names. That's kind of sort of how this entire situation starts. I've told people that long-term, the Democratic Party's plan of one-party rule, while it does look enticing, is one that probably falls apart when you actually look at the overall argument for it. The belief is that Hispanics will just accept the current Democratic Party as it is in the platform and just continue to vote for it, when in reality, the more and more and more woke it becomes, the more and more incompetent, the more and more globalistic it becomes, the more and more unlikely these people will either A, disengage, vote third party, or possibly even vote Republican in the future. But that is another video, once again, for another day. It's one of the main reasons why it is that I choose not to panic, especially on this platform, because I don't want anybody else to panic, and I try to be as 100% real and honest with people as I can be, even though the content does come off as dry from time to time. But let's continue. Once again, a politician trying to play politics. It's all the hell it really and truly is. It's one of the main reasons why is that people do not like politicians. Wes Moore, by the way, is being brought up as a potential replacement for Biden at the DNC. I did a video on this earlier today that's actually going to be posted at right around 1 o'clock this afternoon, kind of talking about that. Not so much about Wes Moore, but as you guys can obviously see, these people are obviously looking for anything and everything they can pull up. I think somewhere like in 2028 is probably the more realistic option, but still at the same time, though, that border bill that Senator Langford tried to get through allowed about 4,500 migrants per day to still cross the border. They said it would be a week, but still at the same time, 4,500 is what 4,500 more than needs be. There wouldn't have been no actual vetting, and of course, no border wall or border security would have actually been added to it. It was an extremely weak bill that James Langford stupidly put out there so that way it could be rejected by the Republicans in the Senate and Congress. It was actually rejected by them before it was rejected by Donald Trump, just to go ahead and say that there for the record. The fact of the matter is that he did that stupidly, not realizing that Democrats would eventually try to use that against Republicans come this year. And trust me, next Thursday night, it will come up in the debate between Trump and Biden, or at least they'll try to do so. But what should actually happen in this case? I believe that if an illegal immigrant commits a crime here in the United States, as much as you don't want to, how do I say, have this thrust upon the taxpayer, I don't believe in deporting an immigrant back to the country they're coming from if they're not going to be punished in said country, and of course, if they're just going to simply come right across this, back across this border. Go back to Kate Steinle and what happened in that situation. That guy had committed the crime 5 separate times. He had actually crossed our border illegally 5 separate times. He should have been put on death row. I think the same exact thing should happen to this individual here. And of course, if you want to get mad with the state of Maryland for basically being a state that doesn't really do death penalty, or they don't really use death penalty as much. I mean, like I said, I'm really for the most part reacting on this, but still at the same time, death penalty should in fact be implemented. As a matter of fact, I'm very much in favor of not only the death penalty, I'm very much in favor of public execution, meaning I think that these people should be placed on display so that way they can be made an example of, meaning that if you do this, then quite frankly, you will be put to death, and quite frankly, not only be put to death, but everybody will see that you've been put to death. I don't care if your body is out there rotting and stinking and whatnot. People need to see it. People need to know this right here is what happens to criminals when they do crimes or commit such egregious crimes as in killing a mother of 5. Now, you guys can comment about where this girl was or that type of stuff there. I don't really truly care. But still, at the same time, though, an American citizen lost their life. It also baffles me why it is that people are saying that they want this guy to sit inside of a prison cell for the rest of his life, when in reality, the only thing he's going to do is sit there for about 10 years, do over things, and become a better criminal, and then get released by an extremely liberal judge at a later date, meaning he will be right back on the streets committing crimes again soon. Put the damn border wall up. Get these illegals out. And actually go through with punishment on these ones who commit such heinous crimes. Yes, I agree with bringing back the death penalty and make it public. But you guys tell me what you think in the comment section. With that right there being said, please hit the like button, please subscribe, please share the video, please sign off in the comment section, and I'll see you guys later.